Hello there and welcome to another Starfield video. Today I'm going to be showing you how I created this vessel. This is the Nova Galactic Pulsar. It is meant to be, the lore behind it is it's meant to be a kind of an early attempt at Nova Galactic to make small scale spaceships. It kind of operates on a similar principle to space plane, whereas if in the lore of if you go to Earth and stuff and you see the early colony ships, they all took off like how rockets take off currently. They kind of take off from like booster platforms and they fire straight up. This was Nova Galactic's kind of attempt to do a kind of a sort of an early space plane. So I'm using various mods to make this. I'm going to really quickly jump over now and show you my load order of what mods I am using. I'm going to also be showing you mods that aren't necessarily being used by this build, but that I would highly recommend. So yeah, let's very quickly jump to that. All right, so these are all of the mods I have in no particular order. We've got shipbuilder categories by Rook616. This mod doesn't do anything in its own, but it is needed for better flips and better snaps. We have better ship part flips by Rooks again. This is a very nice mod that allows you to kind of flip parts normally you couldn't. So I have here Bad Tech Shuttlecraft ship design by WK Baldwin. This is a paid mod. I believe it's 200 credits. I think it might be a little bit more pricey. This ship does not use that, but I do highly recommend this mod because it adds cool custom pieces. But the main piece that is quite useful is it adds these landing gear and docking port that essentially, landing gear and landing bay that allows you to make floating ships, which means you can make like ships with massive wings and stuff. Very, very cool. Again, it is a paid mod, but it's not necessary for this ship build. Institute of Naval Technology Glasses Cockpits. This is by Flight Controller. This adds a number of cockpits in the game that are based on various structural pieces. So if you're trying to make a ship that has a cockpit that you can't really spot from the outside, very cool. Better ship part snaps. This is another one by Rook. This is, again, legendary ship mod, allows you to snap parts in ways normally you couldn't. One of a kind ships. This is by JMPZ11. This basically adds a load of landing bays and docker modules for your ship, which is very nice. Mattel's Cockpit and Bridge Crew Series. This adds, the reason I'm using this, obviously very cool detailed cockpits. I am using it primarily because it adds back door entrances, that's what she said, to the three cockpits that normally you have to place on top. So the Hope Tech cockpit that sits on top of Habs and the two Stroud ones. It adds back doors to them so you can put them at the front of your ship. Multiple cockpits and multiple landing bays by Pilb. This basically adds multiple versions of cockpits and landing bays in various sections. You can find the landing bays in the landing gear and the cockpits in the hab. This basically allows you to have multiple cockpits or multiple landing bays. I prefer the multiple landing bays because sometimes I'll make like a ship that'll have landing bay on the front or the back, but yeah, very cool. Deck Corp landing bays. This is by Dexy. This basically adds a load of landing bays to the game that are aligned with the hab. So a lot of the time, if you're making a ship, you know, the way the landing bay goes underneath, I think there's only one landing bay there's two in the vanilla game that allows it to sit on the side, which this mod adds way more. And the whole point behind it is if, let's say, you're trying to make a ship that's very sleek and only one dimension high. We've got ZSW floating modules. This is by GoArray. This adds a load of pieces that can be used to make ship parts float. Very, very cool. You can end up making I've made a ship that essentially has hovering parts. Very, very cool. Mattel's Hab Cockpits and Accessories by VM Roach. This adds a couple of new cockpits into the game as well as some cool accessories, landing gear and stuff. One thing I will say, apparently on X, so all of these mods are on Xbox, and I mess around with them on Xbox a lot. This mod, I think, is potentially a bit broken on Xbox, so it adds a couple of new cockpits, but they're not all there. So hopefully Mattel can fix that because the cockpits are really cool. We've got the cockpits accessory shipbuilder category patches, just puts them in their correct category. Cross Heavy Industry 3 ship modules by Jackson Cross. This is a phenomenal mod. And this is where the inspiration from this ship came from. It adds a load of modules that can be rotated 360 degrees. And the engines, which has inspired this build, come from that. So we've got the cross heavy system, heavy industry ship system modules. The whole point of this is that in the original cross mod, there's a lot of engine pieces that are acting as structural pieces. And while they do function in that when you throttle up and down, they will burn and stuff, they don't actually provide thrust and stuff. So this mod adds like hidden versions. So you've got a little kind of a 1x1, kind of like it's like a weapon mount, and you can use it to have engines, grav drive reactors, and shields. We got decorated engines enhanced by Sadir. This basically adds engines that can be flipped to various angles. Very, very, very cool. Shipbuilder modules and expansions, SMSEX. This adds some pieces, like this adds a lot of kind of snaps and flips. The main reason I use this is it has these pieces called Gillibrand, like snap points, and it allows you to essentially widen or tighten the snap point. So if you, let's say you wanted to use a piece and merge it close together, very cool. Infinity Airworks, a really awesome free mod that makes it so that a lot of the M-class pieces have been scaled down to fit in with like normal shipbuilding. Shipbuilder Configurator by Grisbane. This basically allows you to build really big ships and customize stuff, as well as enable merging. Now, if you're on Xbox, I will also recommend grabbing, because on Xbox, you can't modify the INI files. You're going to grab the Shipbuilder Configurator, the Xbox version, and you're also going to pick up the Shipbuilder Configurator preset Dreadnought ships by the same author. This version will allow you to build ships of 400 meters in length, and it will allow you to use 1600 modules. Now, I wouldn't recommend building a ship that big. Even on my PC, it would shit itself, but the module usage is what we're going for. And then I believe finally we have ASC Demos by Wiz. This is really, really awesome. Highly recommend. This build does not use that, but this is kind of going to be my go-to for the next while. So yeah, let's jump into it, and we'll build the ship. All right, so we're in game now, and we've got the ship split into various sections, so we're going to kind of go through them. So we'll start off with kind of the main body of the vessel. So we've got a Magellan C1X cockpit by Nova Galactic, and then we've got just a standard Nova Galactic 2x1 all-in-one berth A. You can have whatever you want. On the back here, we've got like a little merge going on. So we have a, let me just show you real quick. We'll kind of do this. We have the, we have these Nova fairings. They're added by the SMSEX mod, and they basically sit like so, exactly like that. And then this piece snaps underneath it like so, right there, just to give it a little bit of a kind of a cool little tail. And then this piece here is just kind of sits underneath there, as you can see. It just kind of merges in like so. So on top here, we've got an equipment plate, and we've got an Eradicator 25E MEV neutron beam. Now for the side pieces here, so we've got two Vaporizer ME5 Auto Proton beams, and they're mounted on some Nova wings. So again, we're making use of the cross Nova wings. We literally just flip them like that. One there and one there, like so, and then we have these mounted on. I have two merged into this one just out of curiosity. So in order to do that, yeah, it's pretty straightforward, because one thing I actually forgot to, which I will show you at the end, but whenever you're doing any of these building, you want to go into the builder configurator, which I will actually show you right now. I do apologize. Hold on now. Right, good job, Crimson, you moron. So yeah, with the shipbuilder configurator, you're going to go into gameplay options. You're going to scroll down to shipbuilder, and you're going to set the overlap tolerance to huge. This will allow you to do some crazy, crazy merging. So yeah, now we're going to go back into it. All right, so we're back. So yes, like I was saying, so pretty simple. So all you basically want to do is you just go to put the other piece in, and it'll automatically want to snap in. You just have to kind of angle it. See, there we go. It's wanting to snap on top of it. You don't need to put extra ones. I just put one extra because this is supposed to be kind of an early prototype that has been found and kind of upscaled and stuff. So it's using proton beams. So next, what we're going to do is we're using two of these White Dwarf engines. Now, the reason I'm using these White Dwarf engines is because when originally I built this ship, I didn't have actual thrust. So the engines we're using are these engines here, these big Nova Colony boosters. They do, like I said, they do function like engines, but they don't actually provide thrust. Now, you could remedy that by using, if you wanted to modify it, like say if you didn't like how the engines looked at the front, and you want to add actual engines, you can go down to the engine section at the very bottom. And you have these little equipment plates here. There it is there. And you can just like press Y to swap them and you can snap them somewhere. But I kind of like how the engines look. So we're using two Relodyne 1020 engines. They're just going to slot in right there. You're just going to put it there, flip it forward and back. Snap in, flip it forward and back. It snaps in. That one was a bit... There you go, you get the... Now at the behind here, we've got the NG-15 landing gear starboard. And then we landing gear the floor. These just snap in like so. Just to kind of confirm, these Nova fairings, just so I can show you, there's like different versions of them, and you can find them in the structural pieces. Structural. You gotta go all the way to the bottom. Where are they? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. There they are here. So yes, so the first piece just kind of snaps like so. Second piece snaps like so, and then third piece snaps like so, and then yeah. And then we've got, I think I showed you these already. These are kind of connected in. So now what you're going to do is you're going to get these little, these are Nova cowlings. Again, I'm using because it's all cross, I'm using the cross versions. And they're just going to basically sit in exactly like that. They're going to snap in nice and snugly. That one doesn't want to snap in, but that's fine. I'm actually, just to double check, I'm going to actually, yeah, cool. I don't know why that one wanted to do. So you're just going to, all I've done is I've just dragged it into position, put it anywhere. It doesn't really matter where you put it, as long as it's close enough. Select the entire ship, hold it, bang, done. So the bottom of the vessel consists of, we've got our NG6 landing bay, and then we've got our Nova docker, but we're using the one-of-a-kind docker because the base version of the docker for Nova Galactic, for some reason, doesn't flip. I wonder why, Bethesda. It's really weird. So this version is bottom facing, and inside it, we've got our reactor, we've got our helium-3 tank, and our grav drive. So all you're going to do is you're going to want to place your landing bay, place the Nova Galactic docker, and then place a Nova cowling upside down. And then you're just going to push each piece in a little bit. So see how it's snapped there? You're going to push it until it's no longer green, so it's not snapped anything. You're going to select all, it'll snap in. Same thing again, just push it. Select all, move it a little bit, it'll snap in. And then finally, we're going to push you in there, and it'll snap in. Bang. Boom, says the lady. Now we're going to select all, and we're just basically going to snap this under like so. So that the landing bay lines up just underneath there, and the bottom cowling reaches the top cowling. Now, for these engine pieces, we have these Nova cowling boosters, like so. So you see how these are, again, we go to the structural pieces, and we scroll all the way down to the very bottom, past everything else, and we will see the cross pieces. Now, just for future reference, when you're scrolling through here, the cross pieces will slow down your console or Xbox a little bit, but that's perfectly fine. Don't worry about it. So we're looking for the colony booster piece. Where is it? Did I pass it already? There we go. This piece here. We're just going to grab it, and we flip it backwards like so. And then we have one of them facing 0, 0, and then we're going to have another one facing 90 degrees. That'll be 180. Sorry, not 90. And then we're going to move that, and then we're going to grab these Nova Colony booster end caps. We're going to snap that on like so. Now, we're going to use a Nova cowling piece here. You see this piece? And what we're going to do is this is going to snap to here. So you see here, it's basically, we're going to have to... There's a lot of... You got to be kind of a little bit careful with this, because there is quite a few snap points. But like I said, what we're trying to do is we're essentially trying to align it with this piece here, this front piece. So like, let me just show you, like if we were to merge them in like so. Oh wait, no, actually, hold on now. Crimson has I've told you that Arsways, that's not how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to merge this piece here in. This piece goes like that, nice and flush. You're going to put this piece on top of it like so. You're then going to take this piece and you're going to merge this in like that. So this piece, going to force it in a little bit, not too far. So you see there's a lot of snap points. We want it to be in just so that it's like that. No, too far. Right there, right like that. Okay. And then you're going to snap the other piece back on top of it, so you will have something that essentially looks like this. Now, with all of these pieces like that, you're going to grab them, and what you're trying to do is you're basically trying to align this snap point with the snap point that this piece is using. So we're going to see if we can do that nice and gently. There we go, right like that. So you notice how you'll see it at the front, because at the front here there's going to be like a little bit of a gap, just a small little gap, so you can just see the weapon. And then we're going to do the same thing the other side. Before we do that, we're going to take our B-class defender shield, and we're essentially just going to merge that in. So you see how it's like wanting to merge. All we're going to do is we're going to put it there, select all, and we're going to move it forward ever so slightly, so it's basically sitting there like so. Ooh, and then we're going to grab these and we're going to merge these in nice and gently. There we go. Perfect. Something is not attached. What is not attached? Oh, whoops, that's that piece over there. My bad. All right, so that is pretty much it. So like I said, so it's got particle weapons and stuff, and the whole kind of premise behind it, like I said, the lore behind this build is it's meant to be like when Nova Galactic were first trying to like, okay, we're trying to make ships that can take off, and they kind of went with the space plane route. This thing is like, it's supposed to have extremely fast afterburners or boosters that allow it to essentially boom out of a planet's gravity well. You can obviously add more weapons and stuff if you want. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Let me know what you think. And like I said, I'm going to try and do more of these. Hopefully, I'll aim to do like 2 a week. I'm going to put them up alongside other videos just to kind of pad out if, you know, like if I do a shorter video. But yeah, as always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.